Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Intrix back again with another Conqueror's Blade video. Without further ado, we're going to get into the first round here, where I charge my Iron Reapers straight into the Berserkers, and as you can see, completely obliterated. The Berserkers stand absolutely no chance against that charge at all. We're going to watch that in a slow replay here in just a moment. Now in round 2, I decided to let the Berserkers charge my Iron Reapers first to see what would happen vice versa. Now one thing I noticed here is that part of my Iron Reaper unit is not engaging in fighting the Berserkers. I noticed that, and then I XV to trigger the attack, and as you can see now my full unit is attacking, but they are slowly dwindling against the Berserkers. They do have their passive triggered, so they are sustaining health, they are staying alive, whereas my Reapers just simply do not stand a chance. And we're going to watch that again in slow motion. What's frustrating is that you have to babysit the Iron Reapers still in Season 7 because sometimes they just don't really engage the way that they should. So if you're not paying attention to your unit, they do have the ability to just simply not engage or attack with another unit. The only way to fix this is to do X, V, something like that, C or V. You basically just gotta hit buttons and get them to re-engage to attack. In round 3, because of the bug, I decided to reattempt the test and have the Berserkers charge into my Iron Reapers first. This time, I'm right on the ball to make sure that my home unit is engaging. However, it appears that this is actually worse than what was happening with the bug. My Iron Reapers die even quicker than they did in the second round. So maybe having that bug enabled and working was actually helping me. Keep in mind that these guys were already triggered and running up the hill towards me. That's quite the bit of distance when it comes to the aggressiveness of these guys. Quite the bit of distance indeed. So when it comes to Berserkers, they're actually kind of going to need to be babysitted as well, because if you're not careful, something else on the battlefield is going to pull them away, and that's going to open them up to some potential trouble, especially when their backside can be exposed, allowing them to be more vulnerable. You really have to keep a good eye on this unit and make sure that you're controlling it a lot as well, or you're going to face the same consequences. Now in the fourth round, I decided to let the Berserkers charge me first, and then I'm going to counter charge. I do have the swords out because I was just curious to see how the Iron Reapers are going to do. Part of my unit runs past the Berserkers and then starts to strike from behind, but because they got the swords out, they just simply don't have the fighting capabilities to counter the Berserkers. We're going to watch that again in slow motion. So what I'm going to add here is that if I did have the flails out, they probably would have had more of a fighting chance, although what it seems to be is that ultimately the Berserkers are going to come out on top. And what appears to be is that unless the Iron Reapers are charging first and they actually get to hit the Berserkers first, the Berserkers are going to stand no chance. But if the Berserkers do have the ability to get that charge on you first, that's pretty much it. Once those passives kick in, they have the sustainability, they can wipe your unit. So what are the pros and cons with the Iron Reapers versus Berserkers? Iron Reapers come in just shy of 13,000 health, Berserkers 19,000. That's pretty whopping difference between the two, as well as the run speed. Worst case scenario for Berserkers, you're looking at about 5 run speed. Best case scenario, 5.8, whereas the Iron Reapers have a very sluggish 3.8 run speed. So these are some of the variables you have to take into consideration as well, although it does appear that Iron Reapers are a bit more tankier in the armor sense. Berserkers are tankier in the sense that they have more health, as well as their passive abilities allow them to sustain and regenerate health a lot better than even equivalent to the Iron Reaper's heal. It is a small passive heal that is on a minute timer, and then you can pop it again, but it does not give the same type of life force as the Berserker's skills. So when it's all said and done, it does appear that the Berserkers overall is the more dominating gold tier infantry unit in the game. It most definitely is the meta, but when it comes to the Iron Reapers, it still feels a little bit sunsetted. It feels like some things are lagging, as well as what is annoying for both of these units is that they still do require some type of babysitting. Iron Reapers, unfortunately, still is subjected to the non-attack bug, where they just simply won't swing their flails randomly. You got to make sure that they're actually attacking, because if not, that's pretty much going to be the crippling point for you in that unit. You got to make sure that they're attacking, or otherwise they don't even have a fighting chance. And in most of these scenarios, they didn't really have much of a fighting chance anyway. The only way that you're really going to get yourself a fighting chance is to make sure that you're popping that charge out first. Otherwise, you have to make sure, or at least try to make sure, that you're attacking the Berserkers from behind, try to maximize the crit ability, etc., etc. When it comes to Berserkers, they are quite aggressive. Very, very aggressive indeed. Their proximity for where they're triggered is a lot more than the average unit. This also means that Berserkers, to some extent, needs to be babysitted as well. I have seen people use the Berserkers in game, and that pretty much has put them in a position where, yes, they are quite tanky, yes, they do have a lot of health, but they can die fairly quickly too if not used correctly. A lot of people just kind of send them in and think, oh, yes, this is a beastly unit. Yes, it is a beastly unit, but you can't just expect them to just do God's work. You got to make sure you're using the unit right, or you will lose that unit really quickly as well. What can we take away from this? Berserkers appears to be the better unit overall. Iron Reapers definitely need some work. Unfortunately, because of that bug, it really does kind of set them up for failure anyway, because no one really wants to have to sit around and make sure that their unit is attacking. That is the most frustrating thing to have to do in a battle, I would say, or at least one of the most frustrating things to have to do. I also want to give a shout out and thanks to Papa Finn and Lenga for assisting me in making this video. But with that being said, this is Intrix signing out. Thank you for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the battlefield.